developing the evaluation system in UP.
Fantastic.
He's working a lot.
Are you aware of the 18 M&E hubs that have been developed across the different districts of UP? For the
I have to search it out. I'll
Okay.
get back to you.
Oh, great. No. Look forward to. Let's just maybe what I'll do is I'll send you an email and perhaps let's have a Zoom or a Teams call sometime next week.
Okay,
Is that good?
definitely.
Super.
Definitely. Ah, perfect.
Okay. Lovely.
Thank you.
Yeah. Hi, Anthony.
Anthony sir, you are muted.
Yeah, hi.
Hello.
Hi, Sanjeev.
Great to see you. Great to see you. Yeah.
Going to start in 3 minutes, exactly at 12.
Am I audible? Am I audible?
Yeah, can hear you. Someone will be sharing the screen, no? From DMO side. I think it's just 12, so you can start maybe. Great. Namaskar and a very good afternoon from India. We welcome to all to the session named Nurturing Evaluation Systems in Indian States, organized by the Development Monitoring and Evaluation Office of NITI Aayog, Government of India, under Global Eval Week 2022, organized by Global Evaluation Initiative, along with Clear South Asia and many more partners. This session, Nurturing Evaluation Systems in Indian States, is conceptualized in the context of contemporary debate on institutionalizing evaluation ecosystem in India. In India, if we look back into the history of planning and governance, we see a strong presence of diverse evaluation capacities, both at the state planning levels and of course at the center. We acknowledge that in such a diverse country like India, each state is different and unique and thus requires customized intervention for strengthening their evaluation systems. Yet we need appropriate evaluation systems both at the higher level and at disaggregated levels, and a mechanism to connect these different cultures and systems so that we could achieve our desired goals like inclusive growth and development and well-being of people. So this session is designed to learn from different practices and reflect on those experiences in order to take the discourse one step ahead. Let me introduce myself before we start the proceedings. My name is Rajiv Nandi. I am the moderator of this session. And I have been working in the field of research and evaluation for the last 25 years. I'm part of the voluntary organization for professional evaluation movement in South Asia. And at present, I work with Sambodhi Research and Communications based out of Noida as Vice President, Knowledge Management and Capacity Building. I'm thankful to the DMO and the organizing committee for inviting me and giving me this opportunity to be part of this learning process. I'm superbly excited actually today. Just one more thing before we formally start our discussion. I'd like to remind the participants a few housekeeping rules. So it will be a 1 hour session with 5 to 6 minutes opening remark from each of the speakers, followed by a quick discussion with the moderator. And then we'll be opening up the floor for a question and answer session with the participants. And at the end, I'll take around 3 to 4 minutes to wrap up the discussion with highlights, the key learning, and the way forward. So some house rules. So you may please post your comments and questions in the question answer box here. And I think some more technical instructions, like if you're logging in from your mobile or laptop, please check the system requirement. I think you have to click on the layout button and select the equal or focus mode. And so let's begin the session. We have 4 very eminent panelists comprising of scholars, academicians, senior advisors, and decision makers for this session. And let me introduce them very briefly. We have Dr. Sanjeev Sridharan with us, one of the finest evaluation thinkers of our time, with many innovative ideas based on his own experience from the field of evaluation. Presently, he is associated with Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation as country lead, Learning Systems and Systems Evaluation, India Country Office. Welcome, Sanjeev. We have Ms. Vartika Srivastava, a senior evaluation officer in the evaluation division of the State Planning Institute that comes under the planning department of Uttar Pradesh government. She has over 20 years of experience in planning and implementation. We are delighted to welcome Ms. Srivastava.
Thank you, sir.
We also welcome very experienced Dr. Chaya Devgankar, Additional Chief Evaluation Officer, Karnataka Evaluation Authority, Planning Department of Karnataka Government. Dr. Chaya has a terrific career path from academics to planning and program implementation. She is one of the persons who brought several reforms within Karnataka Evaluation Association, which is one of the best evaluation authorities in India today as far as accountability and transparency is concerned, with a state evaluation policy also. So we are honored to get a chance to have her here. And finally, we have Mr. Anthony Syriac, Deputy Director General of the DMO at Niti Aayog. Mr. Syriac has vast experience of working with the erstwhile Planning Commission and as an economic advisor to the 5th Finance Commission of the Government of India. So he is one person who had the opportunity to see planning and implementation and evaluation from the apex government think tanks of India. So we are more than happy to welcome him to this panel today.
Thank you.
And so I'll go over to you, Mr. Siriak, first for your opening remarks on this topic today. Yeah, over to you, Mr. Siriak.
Thank you very much, Dr. Nandi. Straight away going to the topic which is given to me, which is establishing standards for evaluation of public programs. I just added one more clause to it, and establishing and implementing, because I think closely connected processes, but the second perhaps is one perhaps important and more difficult than the first. So I just wanted to take them together. Next slide, please. So the questions of institutionalizing evaluation. Actually, what I want to tell here is that setting standards, establishing standards, and implementing one among the several processes involved in institutionalizing evaluation. It is a major component of a larger. It is a activitization of evaluation, evidence-based policy making, evaluation, evidence-based policy making. I'm just listing down to put things in context. I'm just listing down the major sequential processes involved in the institutionalization of evaluation in any tier of government. One embryonic stage for the evaluator, the question is of survival and visibility, because it's a new activity which is coming in. Policy formulation and policy implementation are quite well known to the government system and to the public, but then evaluation is a new term. I mean, when I'm just speaking of a system where evaluation has not been built in already. So the initial issue is of survival, that this activity is relevant, and just make the next connected issue is of visibility. Yes, I'm here to I should be visible to all. So that is the next issue. Once cross the initial hurdles, then the next set of issues are continuity and permanence. Now, in continuity and permanence, now I have crossed the initial hurdles. Now I should ensure that my institution continues to exist and it is a level of permanence, which means that there is acceptability within the system. Now, the next, once they achieve that, once the evaluation then achieves that, then empowerment, seek empowerment in terms of functionaries and finances. I have got the functions, and now I need functionaries and finances. So finance should not be a constraint for evaluation of schemes, public schemes, since the number of schemes is very large. One may have to do a lot of sample surveys. Finance should not be a constraint, and functionary should not be a constraint. The next in line comes the setting of standards. My point of saying, and then after standards are set, then it's nurturing the ecosystem. I will come to this point later. The whole point of this slide is that nurturing standards cannot be seen in isolation. Setting standards cannot be seen in isolation. It's part of a harmonic whole. Next slide, please. Now I have encapsulated all my points. I mean, it's for everybody to see. Is setting standards difficult? Not simple, but doable. Because there is the accumulated evaluation experience, there is a lot of literature on this. But it's difficult because general principles cannot be applied as such. Hence, one needs to do a lot of adaptations. And the third issue there is the policy space is vast and varied. And there are a lot of institutions involved. There are lots of institutions involved. And the thematically there are lots of issues involved. So the standards will have to distinguish between themes, institutions, schemes, programs, etc. And what is more difficult, the next point, what is more difficult, it's ensuring implementation is more difficult because varying levels of systemic development, limited number of useful players, acceptability. And then I'm listing two sets of prerequisites. One is linking evaluation to budgeting. It's half a journey. Once that is done, it's half a journey done. And deciding on what to evaluate is very important. Or are only schemes to be evaluated? No, the whole budget needs to be evaluated. Schematic budget may be only 1/3 or 1/3 of the total budget. Nurturing smaller players is very important because the procurement becomes an important activity in evaluation. So one can't always deal with 4 or 5 big players. We will have to have a lot of smaller players in the system. And awareness needs to be generated among all stakeholders. Ministries need to be capacitated. And about documentation, it has to be very simple and saleable. It has to be acceptable, readable, and comprehensible to the executive. So that's very important. In terms of task and time, it should be very realistic. It can't be a vision document. It can be a fantasy. It has to be very realistic. And the quality of evaluation needs to be monitored also. And is there a legal backing required? Not a must. It will take. And of course, the instruments.
Thank you, Mr. Sridharan. Yeah, so I think you've given a very good, overview on the sequence and the priorities and the challenges in establishing or institutionalizing evaluation systems in this country. We'll come back to you with a follow-up question later, but let's hear from Dr. Chaya, her experiences, because she has been working with the Karnataka Evaluation Authority for some time now. So over to you, ma'am, to hear your opening remarks. Yeah, thank you.
Rajiv, and I must also thank the event organizers for giving us an opportunity to participate in this global event and share our experiences on this platform. And I must say that Karnataka has established a very good model of M&E systems, and that can be rather followed at any subnational levels. And to some extent, an integrated form can be established at the national level also. And to begin with, I can say that Karnataka, like any other states, had a evaluation division in the planning department, which was looking after the evaluation functions. And it was a routine affair that because of either a central government mandate or because of some public issues, the programs were taken up for evaluation. But over a period of time, the government was very specific about having the evaluation system built up properly. And Karnataka was one of the first states in the country to have an evaluation policy in 2000 that made evaluation as mandatory. Any scheme at that time having the budget over 1 crores was to be evaluated during the planning period, and the outcomes should be rather used for further justification of the scheme. But in course of time, it was rather found that the evaluations done on the routine basis without much expertise support, and also the third party perspectives in the evaluation studies, it was observed at the state level that Karnataka should have also an independent evaluation office on the lines of the Planning Commission IEO office. And therefore, Karnataka government took a decision to establish a Karnataka Evaluation Authority in 2011. And since then, I think that the whole system, as just now Mr. Anthony was talking about, most of the parameters that are listed out required for the sustainability and also the institutionalization of the evaluation system have rather taken place in Karnataka state. And I must say that a very good institutional setup is established as an independent authority. We have various bodies. We have a general body, we have a governing body, and we have various committees, technical committees, expert groups, and empaneled organizations to take up the evaluation studies, basically from the third party perspectives. And over a period of time, Karnataka has also developed many good practices that can strengthen the evaluation system. And the whole system works on an integrated platform. We have the division of statistical data collection, Directorate of Economics and Statistics. Then a monitoring division, Avalokana system is established in the monitoring division of planning department, and the evaluation division. All these work together along with the planning board of the state to establish the whole evaluation systems. And the authority has established a very well transparent evaluation system where we can say that the agencies are identified based on the QCBS method, the guidelines are established, and even the quantifications are made with regard to the selection of the agencies. The weightage is given on 80-20 basis so that the technical aspect is very much emphasized properly. And we have expert panel committees to make the selection of the tenders in the e-procurement in a public transparency system under KTPP Act. The tenders are given, and evaluation organizations in a competitive basis apply for the evaluation process of the schemes that are tendered out. And we have an expert committee to make the selection of the evaluation organizations. And then throughout the study, the department, the KEA, as well as the organization work together for rather bringing out the most realistic results. Then we have a very good system of the final checkup of the evaluation studies based on the realistic picture that it has tried to put out, and the recommendations to what extent they are really feasible and acceptable by the departments, etc. We have a technical committee. The report has to pass through the technical committee where we have high-level experts from different high-level management organizations, etc. And we have the independent assessors also who look into the reports, and we have a subject experts also who also give their comments, and finally the report is revised and shared with the department for further comments. And finally it is brought into the implementation process. And I am very proud to say that from 2011, only 200 and plus studies have been taken up, and almost for 80% of the studies, the action taken reports are received, and they have been in the form of formulation of a law, changes in the guidelines, changes in the monitoring mechanism, etc. And the whole system is strengthened. In course of time, I will share with you also the practices, best practices that have been developed. One is that we have developed very good knowledge partnerships, and that is with regard to the data analytics. So we have the huge data collected, and we use both this data analytics approach along with the evaluation findings for developing the strategy for planning and implementation. And we have the Center for Open Data Research, which is in partnership with the International Institute of Information Technology and the Public Affairs Center. Then the other innovative partnership is with the Nudge Foundation, which I will talk to you in the course of time, where many innovative ideas have been developed by the Indian administrative fellows who have been rather the CEOs of many top companies and have been trained in the Stanford, Harvard universities and all, and have been rather providing the innovative approaches for policy designing and monitoring. And we have a very now well established SDG localization process also, and use of data analytics also in the planning and implementation processes. And we really find that we have been able to create demand for evaluation. And in the sustainability process, we have to see both supply and demand sides. And I'm proud to say that we have been able to create demand for the evaluations. And even the other companies are also now approaching to the Karnataka Evaluation Authority for taking up the evaluation processes. And many such good practices that have been developed will be shared with you in course of time. And I hope that this will be sufficient for giving you a snapshot of the authority in Karnataka. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for laying out that different kind of systems that know and how they are functioning, and some of the good results that are coming from laying out these systems. Thank you so much. We'll come back to you with further questions, but I'll go over to Ms. Vartika Srivastava now for her opening remarks. Over to
Good afternoon, panelists. Thank you for giving the opportunity. In Uttar Pradesh, we have a strong evaluation division which was established on the recommendations of V.K. R.V. Rao Committee in 1965. And in 1972, we got the present structure where we have a very senior level IS officer as our director. Then there are two joint directors, then senior evaluation officers, additional statistical officer, and assistant statistical officer. In evaluation division, we get the proposals from the developmental departments. And after getting the proposal, we go through the literature, the geos, and all the physical and financial progress, and prepare a design or a synopsis. On the basis of those synopsis, before preparing the synopsis, we make an exploratory study also by going in a district where the scheme, plan, or program is implemented. After preparing the design, we seek the comments from the concerned department. And in the design, we have the methodology, the samples. After going through getting the comments, we prepare a survey tools, do the pre-testing, then do the field work. Later on, after collecting the field work, doing the field work in the selected districts, we prepare a draft report on the basis of the secondary and primary data, as well as the next slide, please. On the basis of the primary and secondary data, as well as the observation and discussion which we have done in the district in our evaluation reports. After preparing the evaluation report, we send the copy of the evaluation report to the concerned department to seek their feedbacks and comments. After getting the comments and feedbacks, we give the final shape to our evaluation report. And from 1965 till date, we have done more than 800, about 820 evaluation studies, inspections, verifications. Out of those 820 evaluation studies, we have got and the action taken reports of about 600 evaluation studies. The evaluation studies that we get are major from the agriculture department, education department, horticulture, animal husbandry, forest, cooperative, labor, and other welfare departments. In this, I would like to make a very strong with it that we have done quick assessment studies too, submitted our report in 2 months, that is for the direct benefit transfer given to the agricultural farmers and the Samagra Gram Vikas Yojana run by the program implementation department. Then we have done the evaluation study for the centrally sponsored schemes like Rashtriya Krishi Vikas Yojana, Border Area Development Program, Education for All, and Bundelkhand package. In our report, we always give emphasis to the observation and discussion that we have done in the district. Apart from the primary data that we have gathered in the district, the recommendations and the suggestions given in our evaluation report has been accepted by the departments. They have implemented the suggestions and recommendations. Now we are on the evolving the evaluation systems in Uttar Pradesh. We just the mechanisms to nurture evaluation in Uttar Pradesh. We are focusing now or more on training and exposure to the evaluation organization, more focus on formative evaluation, process evaluation, and implementation evaluation with the outcome effective is evaluation and implementation impact evaluation. Evaluation should not always be done for the scheme plan or process which has been ended, but it should be for the policy and budgetary planning. As Mr. Antony has said, that the empowerment given to the evaluation needs functioning and finance. So policy and budgetary planning plays a key role for nurturing the evaluation system in not only in state but India and even at the global level. Because evaluation is a recent developed and need of the hour. It gives life to any program, plans and schemes. Then we have to adopt the latest technology for sampling. We have to adopt the latest technology for data collection, and we have to adopt the latest technology for analysis also. After doing our evaluation, there is a dire need for follow-up the recommendations made by the evaluation organization, any organization, whether that is the state, national or international organization.
Ms. Vartika, sorry. Just if you just wrap it up in maybe in 1 more minute. Yeah.
Yeah, sir. Just going to finish it out.
Yeah. Okay. Great.
We need to strengthen the infrastructure by providing the software tools, the laptops, tablets, which we are missing in our Uttar Pradesh. We need to focus on that. And then we need an training and exposure visit as it, because the more to increase our vision, to increase our exposure, to increase our way of doing the evaluation, we need to interact and go and visit the evaluation. Like we, as Dr. Chaya said, Karnataka is one of the best. Then we should visit the Karnataka, how they are doing the evaluation. Or if the DMU is doing in the best form, we need to visit that organization. That's my point for the nurturing the evaluation system in a state as well as the nation as well as at the global level. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Vartika. I think for describing, I think very nicely described the systems you are following in the state, and absolutely I agree with your last comment that there is it is definitely highly required to learn from each other, and then only we can perhaps go 1 inch closer to our desired goal. Okay, so I'll come back to you later with further questions. So I now want to hear from our final panelist, the last panelist, Dr. Sanjeev Sridharan. So so over to you, Sanjeev.
Thank you, Rajiv.
Eagerly waiting to hear from you.
Thanks, Rajiv. Thank you to DMU for organizing this. Let me start by saying this event itself is a good means of nurturing evaluation systems. You nurture through dialogue. And I think this is a good dialogue as we learn more about what's happening in UP, what's happening with Karnataka, and Anthony's vision of how to go about nurturing systems. I think this is important. The word that echoes with me most is Anthony's words on the harmonic whole and his comments about taking nurturing seriously. I think let me start there. We're not just talking about building, developing evaluation systems. We are talking about nurturing. And I think let's start there and pause for a second. What does it actually mean to nurture from an evaluation perspective? For me, number one, as having worked in systems that have not yet been developed in my own career in states, in the US, etc., most of all, as a struggling evaluator, I need energy, I need ideas. And I think that comes through interactions. That's number one. Two, you nurture through skills. And that's where some of the competencies discussion comes in. Three, and this is where Anthony discussed this, you think about governance, you think about the kinds of structures required. And I think some of the work DMEU is doing at states is magnificent. Fourth is really the most important part, connectivity. You nurture through connections. Fifth, this is really important. Too much of evaluation is about producing cool products. Here's the final report. When you're talking about building capacities, you're actually learning and you're actually sort of having an uptake of knowledge. How does one nurture that? So on and so forth. And so we need to pay attention to that. Having spent a lot of my life in US and Canada and the UK, I want to point out one of the advantages that India has. The center-state relations, in my view, is especially rich for a collaborative federalism in which there is a dialogue at the same level on how can we learn from each other. So as we think about nurturing evaluation systems, I'm hoping that we think about how do states collaborate with each other? What is DMU and the center's role in such kind of collaboration? So in the next couple of months, we've started a dialogue in which Meghalaya, we are actually focused on Meghalaya, trying to build some linkages with Meghalaya and a couple of other states in terms of learning about innovations that are happening in these different states itself too. I think the vision, as we look ahead in terms of nurturing, the vision that really I'm especially captivated by is this notion of a distributed network, where if we see innovations happening on one front in UP, on another front from Karnataka, a third front from Meghalaya, fourth at the center, at the DMU level, what's the system we bring to play in which these different capacities and assets are leveraged in a way that we can actually learn from each other? That's the general vision. As we ask ourselves tough questions as we go forward, we've got to ask ourselves, which are the different countries we can learn from, and why are reasons why we should not completely copy models of other countries? That's one kind of question. I think the second question is, as a point I've already raised, how do we move beyond a product culture to, it's not learning to produce a report. The learning happens in the production of the report and a lot of other activities that surround that. How do we build a culture that promotes learning? We have to ask ourselves, who are the providers who can actually promote such learning? There are a class of providers who are really good at producing products, not terribly good in actually creating learning itself too. And all of this really becomes from a sustainability lens. How do we ensure this is sustainable? That's my 5 minutes. Oh.
Thank you so much, Sanjeev. Very good comments, and absolutely, I agree with your comments on the nurturing aspect, and not only the product-based learning, but also how we can use our different skills and systems to learn more. And capacity building itself is a learning experience. Thank you so much. I'll just now I'll deepen the discussion a bit more maybe here, and because we heard now for four experts, four practitioners from the field, and first I'll go to Chaya ma'am. Ma'am, you given a nice picture, the way the developed systems were developed, the kind of challenges and the overall achievements, etc. But could you please share some of your specific examples, maybe from your practice, within those systems, using your M&E evidence, and link those with the outcomes, maybe some crucial factors that that which you think the most important in this learning process. Maybe you can respond in maybe 2-3 minutes. Yeah. Sorry, I can't hear you. Ma'am, we can't hear you. Sorry, I can't hear you. Is it my problem or?
No, we can't hear either, Rajiv.
Yeah, ma'am, we can't hear you. Maybe some problem with your audio mic.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Fantastic. Yeah, good. Yeah. Thank you. Please go ahead.
So what is required is some best practices to be developed in pooling the resources, human resources or financial resources, and making the system sustainable through partnerships, and also the contribution of different stakeholders. That exactly has been tried with Karnataka Evaluation Authority to make it the system more acceptable and also rather more demanding in nature and sustainable in terms of the financial and human resources. One or two best practices I would like to share on this platform is that one is that we have developed a knowledge partnership with UNDP in the form of a Sustainable Development Goals Center, where we have rather derived the resources from UNDP, the human resources, and also the technology and expertise to guide the evaluation authority also and the government of Karnataka in formulating the evidence-based policy. The second type of, we can say, academic models is with regard to the Center for Open Data Research. And this is the partnership with the Information Technology Institute and International Institute, as well as the Public Affairs Centers in a PPP mode. And I must say that a big data analytics is being carried out, and the outcome is in front of you. That Karnataka government is now very having a very deep dive in the evidence-based policy, and you will find that in terms of data analytics carried out by the Center for Open Data Research through a big data analysis, we have been able to identify the correlations, for example, in the education sector across the dropout ratios, learning outcomes, and find out what type of the patterns are existing in the Karnataka state. And you will find that we have the red zones, we have the orange zones, and we have the yellow zones, where we have been able to rather derive different policies for addressing the issues specifically in those zones. So that is basically the SDG localization process that is taking place in the Karnataka state. And we have a lot of visualizations, and this progress is rather monitored at every Karnataka development program meeting every month. Then the other important knowledge partnership I would like to share on this platform is with regard to Nudge Fellowship Program, which is rather with the Nudge Institute Center for Innovative Research there, wherein the fellows are rather got from the various corporate sectors who have rather volunteered to work with the government, rather apply their mindsets, their innovative ideas, and help the government in formulating more focused evidence-based policies. And we have really the experts which are derived from very good high-level IT companies who are now working. For example, we can say one is Ravi Trivedi, who was with Dell and the other companies, who has been helping to the Department of Agriculture in developing a data system as well as the data application at Gram Panchayat level for the integrated farming systems based on the local designs, etc. So for the 6,000 Gram Panchayats in Karnataka, now the system is being developed. And we have Balu Subramaniam in the education department, who has been able to develop small videos that can provide 10 minutes lessons to the children on very crucial topics, and how to develop the STEM labs in the state schools. These are some of the very important programs which have been taken up by them. One such program is taken up in the strengthening of self-help groups through the Asmita model, where we can, a public sector corporate bank is being identified, Canara Bank now, for providing the linkages and all. And this is another point slide which shows that with the Center for Open Data Research, we have been able to identify the low productivity causes as well as the intervention specific areas where we can rather focus upon. And we have that 390 critical GPs where the huge gap between the actual and potential yield lies. And in the last budget, in the 22-23 budget, the state government has announced the programs for these GPs on crop specific basis. And one more thing I must say, that now Karnataka government has been very much benefited by these interventions and the outcomes of the evaluations, that in the last budget it is declared that all schemes with expenditure of 100 crores and above should be mandatorily evaluated. and the outcome should be used for policy purposes. So these are some of the best practices I would like to share on this platform. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Good to hear that we already developed partnerships, in this to strengthen this learning process. Absolutely. So, Ms. Vartika, I think in your first remarks, initial remarks, you presented overall kind of the systems that you developed in UP. That you already conducted evaluations, reports are published. I'm just assuming that may be variations in the quality and frequency of those evaluations. Anyways, I mean, just like to hear some of your suggestions, maybe how to set or establish some standard for these evaluations or conducting evaluation with the and how you integrate the learning process in this continuously feed into these conducting evaluations, or maybe if you have some ideas to how you can reorient the state planning department to strengthen this practice and the use of findings and learnings to strengthen the system. Yeah, what do you maybe in
Yes,
2-3 minutes?
Rajiv, the evaluation process that we adopt in Uttar Pradesh is, I think, is one of the most systematic and one of the most adaptive process where we have the relevance. In the slide, you would have gone through the steps that we followed, and it all focus on the relevance is in the evaluation or the intervention doing the right things and its effectiveness, the efficiency, sustainability, impact, and equity. In effectiveness, we go for the intervention achieving its objective, how well the resources are being used, will the benefits last, what difference does the intervention make, and was the scheme inclusive. This is something which should be incorporated for the minimum standard of evaluation for public programs. The point number one. Second, we should have the sensitization of the statistical officers or the persons who are doing the evaluation. There should be clear indicators. Then there should be correlation between the objective that we have taken up and with the objective related with the plans and programs and schemes. Then mobilization and statistical analysis.
Thank you. Anything more you want to add here?
Yeah, I just wanted to, as Mr. Antonia said, 1/3 part of the total budget if is assigned for the evaluation, then only when we can have the minimum standard of evaluation for public programs, or we can establish something common for all over the state, all over India. Then only we can, and plus a dialogue, as Sanjeev has said, interaction, communication, and connection. Then only we can have a very effective evaluation system in states as well as in India.
Absolutely,
That's
absolutely.
it.
Completely agree with you, Ms. Vartika, and absolutely, I liked your suggestions on working, deeply with the statistical officers, and sometimes we more involved with methods and tools and techniques, but to develop, nurture the skills and to so that this ownership actually should be built. The people who are the primary stakeholders of data and who are actually working in the field and doing and looking at that data and analyzing that data. So absolutely, I agree with you. I'll go to over to Mr. Anthony now. You already presented the sequence, and where are the challenges, and you already presented some of those challenges. But I also want to listen more from you, if you can just give maybe a deeper insight in those challenges and learnings, and how we want to feed those learnings in near future, the way you work with the state evaluation departments. Yeah, over to Mr. Anthony.
In the cooperative federalism mandate that Niti Aayog has, DMEO has the mandate of evaluation. And DMEO is a very new organization, and it doesn't, all the processes are evolving for DMEO. So my first point is that it is not the storehouse of all wisdom. So it's mutual learning with the states. Now Uttar Pradesh is reporting that they have done 800 evaluations from 1965. It's a long period, but 800 is some number. And Karnataka has been, once the authority has been established, the way the state progressed in evaluating schemes and absorbing the findings in policy has been admirable. Hence, we also stand to gain. So it's mutual learning. And the only thing that I would say regarding institutionalizing and nurturing the system is the evaluator needs evaluator may not get immediate purchase on his ideas, etc., but evaluator needs to be patient, and he needs to generate quality reports regularly, and be in coordination with the Ministry of Finance, which is the coordinating the Ministry of Finance in the case of Government of India, and the Department of Finance in the case of state governments. And so this kind of coordination and this patience, kind of quality, can ensure that most of the challenges can be overcome. Challenges will exist, but we need to be patient. We should keep a low profile. The evaluator needs to keep a low profile, but because we are not the owners of policy. Policy owners are elsewhere. We are only evaluating the. So this realization of one's own stature is very important for the evaluator to circumvent the challenges. So I stop.
Thank you so much, Anthony. Sanjeev, finally, I'll just quickly. I want to hear again from you. I don't have any specific question for you, but you have heard them, and then maybe final reactions from you, maybe in 2 minutes. But if you just share some of your ideas about about the partnership that you mentioned in your earlier comments, then what kind of partnership, and at what level, and what we may have learned from other contexts, perhaps. Yeah.
Thanks, Rajiv.
Most of the
No, sorry, hear a lot of background noise. I think it's important, as we think about nurturing evaluation systems, we think not just about the government, but we also think of the ecosystem that surrounds it. That also includes the community, the academic sector, the range of different private and public independent evaluators, etc. So actually sort of learning about what's a sustainable model, that's just where I do want to plug the work of institutions like that you have been a part of, ECOI, and APIA, both of whom that I have a lot of time for. So you have this tremendous network of evaluators who are available, so as we think in Meghalaya, for example, we are looking to tap who are the local evaluators who will be there, who can connect with the state organizations in a much more sustainable way. I think we've got to move away from a model in which we contract out to one organization, given the really rich talent that exists, and some of these networks can help tap. I think that's one type of quite a general point. Two, I want to also stress, I've spent probably 70% of my life outside India, 60% of my life. I've just returned a few years ago. I want to stress the evaluation scene in India has the potential of being infinitely more exciting than the evaluation scene in the US, Canada, the UK, all of which I've spent some time on. And one of the reasons is the deep heterogeneity that exists across India. That also means, for discussion, we have a chance to think a little bit differently about the DAC criteria. We have to challenge. We have to say in what ways is the new and revised DAC criteria so good? In what ways can India do much better? So some of the discussions I'm having with colleagues at DMU is how do we think more deeply about inequities in our work? I think that's where I think we have to not just look to the West or other southern countries as models, but also take the leadership. That's just one example itself. I think ways in which we can think about the complexities. I think the entire area of How do you evaluate complex interventions? So those are areas of potentially great innovations that will be happening. One final point. I think, again, from DMU's leadership, we need bold experiments in states and connections between states. So I've already mentioned Meghalaya and UP as two examples, where we start not from evaluation, but we start from a policy/practice problem.
Yes.
And as they implement this problem, we learn about what kinds of evaluation, what are different evaluations that actually work out there. And then we work backwards to actually think about how do we build capacities at the district level, at a broader level. So I think these kinds of bold experiments are needed. And I'm really pleased to say, as working closely with Yashashwani, Mr. Shivastra, Shalendra, and others, and Shweta and others, I think there's a real experimental culture that's growing to actually say, let's try these experiments, let's see what actually works. Having spent many years in the US, nobody in the center in the US can do similar experiments in the state. And that, I think, is a tremendous advantage that India has. Over.
Yeah, thank you, Sanjeev. I mean, great to hear that. No, that we also have advantages. I mean, sometimes we listen from the experts of the north that no, we are lagging behind, 20 years behind, like like global north. But great to hear that no, we also have advantage, and we can develop, we can nurture the systems is generated here or developed here by different kind of communities and networks. I think we absolutely, this is the right time to take advantages from those networks, those professionals, those local level resource persons, those knowledge. Absolutely fantastic. Anyway, so we don't have much time, but I think I see some questions here in the question and answer box. Like the first time I'm opening this box here. Yeah, so I think one question, I mean, I want to, like, no, though we listen from Sanjeev that no, it's not only a government thing. Evaluation is just not government. It's also like, different kind of stakeholders actually to strengthening these systems. But still, a question is there, like, how this, like, union government, how can they play a major role in nurturing the state evaluation systems, and what should be done from your side? So, Anthony, maybe quickly in 1-2 minutes, if you just give few pointers, that's all.
No, to the extent I understand, most of the states have big financial commitments to evaluation. There is no dearth of financial commitments to evaluation, to the extent I understand. And from the union government, there is clear financial commitment on evaluation, so there is no dearth of funds. Second, now I can only reiterate the point that I made earlier, that nurturing the system, DMEO has to learn, and the state may have to learn from us. Apart from nurturing the systems within the government, what is more important is to nurture institutions outside the government, because at all vertical processes of evaluation, conceiving the study, make a research frame, making the instruments of observation, analytical plan, everything, given the dense policy space, no state government, no union government itself can complete this task. Hence, we need to set of institutions, a large set of institutions possibly nurtured, to collaborate in the task and to fulfill the task. So,
absolutely.
Institutions.
Sorry, yeah. So I just want to take another question. Maybe I think I want to ask this question to Chaya ma'am. I'm just reading this question here. From the experience of fieldwork and data collection, how can we increase the citizen participation in the evaluation studies and processes in states, and ensure that evaluation bodies are more human-centric rather than being restricted to technical evaluators to design and track evaluation studies? Oh my God. So, yeah.
Yeah,
please,
yeah, got it. Yes. Really, this is something very good to ponder with, that we have to involve the community. In fact, whenever we prepare the terms of reference for the study, we make it rather suggestive methodology that focus group discussions are a part of the evaluation process. And therefore, the whole community participation, the focus group design is made in such a way that all the community stakeholders are the participants in the focus group discussion. And this, I will say that many good insights come through the focus group discussions. So this is one thing where you can involve the community. Then we go for the social audit system also. Whenever the evaluation is taking place, any social audit reports are there, or the type of social audit system that has been established. And we also suggest that to strengthen the community participation, community stakeholdership, it is better to have social auditing also of schemes so that they can have the ownership and participation. But the other thing is that even when we talk about the individual beneficiaries and take the interviews and all, totally they are taken into fully confidence and with all the ethical assurance that their information sharing will be rather purely used for the evaluation purpose and all. So that way, different stakeholders, and we have the in-depth interviews with the officials at the field level. In-depth interviews with the NGOs working in the field. For example, in the child marriage study that is going on in Karnataka state today, we have a number of stakeholders which have been involved in the process to get as many insights from the community with regard to the perspective of child marriages, so that we can have an effective policy framing that can address many of these issues. So community dialogue, I say, is a very, very important aspect of evaluation, and no evaluation can be realistic without a community dialogue.
Absolutely, absolutely. Completely agree with you, ma'am. I mean, absolutely. This community interaction and collecting data from the people, from the real primary stakeholders is absolutely key in also to enhance our own learning and interpret our data. Anyways, there are
Rajiv, I would Rajiv, I would like to say, as Dr. Chaya has said, the community aspect for any evaluation aspect, because whatsoever we are evaluating, it is always related with the community development, community benefit. We have to go through the grassroots level, the particular beneficiary, and interact. What is the impact for that particular plans and schemes? Then only we can have the clear picture of that scheme or plan. Because as VK Rao committee has always suggested that evaluation is not about pointing out the drawbacks. It about creative. It is putting something very concrete for the to improving the system or improving the functioning.
Absolutely, absolutely, completely agree. I think just one more maybe minute. I just want to because there are several questions for the UP. I think that's a good question. I'm just taking one comment. This looks like a great evaluation plan for UP. So just a follow-up question at the feedback phase. What are the different stakeholders we reach out to get feedback, and what aspects do we get feedback on? So, Ms. Vartika, yeah, quickly.
Yes. The evaluations which stakeholders, we are the departments from where we get the evaluation proposals or the evaluations we are doing for that particular department. We get the feedbacks in the form of whether they are implementing our suggestions, recommendations, and how far it is useful for them. That is how we get the result from the stakeholders. That is my answer.
Thank you so much.
Like a few years back, we have done a evaluation study on agriculture. We suggested that the scheme is a duplicacy. Some other schemes also run the same programs, some providing such benefits to beneficiaries. So that scheme was stopped on the recommendations of evaluation division. Similarly, in the education for all, we suggested that during the COVID time, there should be Gaon Chaupal and community learning instead of mobile learning, because at the village level, most of the persons don't have the mobile. So teachers went to the Gaon, created a Chaupal and started teaching the kids.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I think we reached actually almost like now it's almost 1 o'clock. So very quickly, I sorry I couldn't note down
Rajiv,
very
time
nicely.
was come to for the interaction.
Yeah, absolutely. 1 hour, yeah, because sometimes like no, it takes I mean off later actually. Anyways, So, I think it's a great discussion. I mean, excellent comments from the State Department, from DMO, and definitely Sanjeev was there. We learned a lot today about what's happening in 2 different states, how they are progressing, what kind of learning, and how they are engaging or incorporating those learning in strengthening the systems. We heard from Anthony that evaluation is still long way to go, because still it's new. It was not embedded in the policy system in that manner, because we don't have an evaluation policy, but we are in an advantageous position. That's the best thing we heard from Sanjeev. We have a huge kind of a knowledge resource, a lot of people, a lot of practitioners in the field at the local level, and I think there are enormous scope to learn from them and strengthen this system. And I'm absolutely hopeful the way we are working right now. I think we have a bright future. So absolutely, I would like to stop this conversation formally with this comment. And before I close this session, we have an announcement. The announcement is there is another session at 2:30 organized by DMO. It's a very interesting, basically a workshop, skill building workshop on designing evaluations for food safety net. And I think I see already a couple of known faces in the panel. Abhay, I see Avinash Das, I see Shailendra Srivastava. I think it will be very exciting workshop it would be in designing evaluation. So please be there at 2:30 for this workshop. Okay, now let's close this session here with this announcement. And I sincerely thank our speakers, our participants for a very fruitful discussion. Special thanks to the organizers and Prachi in particular for wonderful arrangement and logistical support, and DMO's technical team. Fantastic.
Yes.
See you soon. Take care.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye-bye. See you soon.